David Taub here, coming to you from nextlevelguitar.com, and welcome to another Inspired By video lesson. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some lead playing techniques that I think is really going to add some different mood and sounds to your lead playing if you're not doing this already. I'm talking about combining like minor pentatonic and major pentatonic and using all those intervals over certain chord changes and progressions. And guys, so many guys do this, and you hear it all the time if you listen to guys like Eric Clapton, Keith Richards, Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, lots of guys, and not just blues guys. A lot of times in blues rock and whatnot you could do this. You can't do it all the time, but I'm going to explain to you when and how. So what I'm talking about is I'm talking about using both the minor pentatonic scale and the major pentatonic scale together and mixing them and getting different moods, okay? Because as you all know, minor pentatonic, you get that nice bluesy sound. And then major pentatonic, you get that kind of sweet Allman Brothers kind of B.B. King kind of sound, right? And you could use those both together and go back and forth and really come up with a cool palette of sounds. So basically, let's just look at a couple of shapes on the guitar, and then you want to learn this in all positions and in all keys. Now, a lot of my teachings start with minor pentatonic because that's probably the most widely used scale across genres, all genres of music. And basically minor pentatonic, let's just look at one shape. If you don't know all the shapes up and down the neck, you could learn them by going to our website, nextlevelguitar.com. We have diagrams and video lessons and written lessons, so you can integrate this into your playing. Let's just look at one shape because I'm going to show you how to find the minor and the major pentatonic, and then we're going to combine them, a la those cool artists that we just talked about. So let's just look at your basic box shape, which you probably know already. Minor pentatonic, let's just take the key of A. So you're looking at a 5-note scale. Minor pentatonic is 5 notes from the natural minor scale, or Aeolian mode. So you have your root, A, we'll play it in A, first finger on the root low E string, and then we're just going to play your box shape. So you have your flat third, or your C, your fourth, which is your D, your fifth, which is your E, and then you have your flat seventh, which is your G. 5-note scale. And you just repeat those notes. Okay, and that's your minor pentatonic scale. Now, that's 5 notes from the natural minor scale, and obviously that will work anytime you have a song in minor key, whether it's in A minor. You could use your A minor pentatonic scale over most of the chords, if not all of them. If you have a song in the key of D minor, you can use the D minor pentatonic scale and add the blue note. We'll get to that later, right? Similarly, major pentatonic takes 5 notes from the major scale. Alright, so I'm going to play in a major pentatonic. I'm going to play my root now. All you're going to do is you're going to shift. We're going to just work on the box shapes. So just shift down 3 frets and grab the root with your pinky. So we're going to be playing the A note with our pinky, and you're still going to emphasize the A's because we're in A major pentatonic. And those intervals, 5 from the major scale, will be root, or your A, your second, which is your B, your third, which is your C sharp, your fifth, which is your E, and your sixth, which is your F sharp. So you get very major sounding, very sweet, major sound. And you're basically leaving out the fourth and the major seventh, and you have major pentatonic. And much like minor pentatonic, major pentatonic works over most major progressions and major chords, because you're just playing the 5 notes out of the major scale and you're leaving out that major seventh, and that's the note that can get you in trouble sometimes, depending on what chords you're playing over. Okay, so what am I talking about mixing these up and whatnot? Well, if you have a basic 1-4-5 progression, like so much music is all based off that 1-4-5, and let's say you have a 1-4-5 blues, swing, shuffle, anything where you're hearing stuff like any kind of shuffle, or here I'm using 7th chords. You probably heard this like a million times. Then it goes with a 4, then it goes back to the 1 chord, for the most instances. Then you're up to the 5. Real shuffly kind of feel. And then the turnaround. Right? Any 1-4-5, swing, shuffle, blues, major key, okay? And even if you're just playing the fifths, it's still, or the power chord, still considered major key. And minor pentatonic sounds great over stuff like that, even though it's major key, because really that's what the blues is all about, is about playing those minor sounding notes over major chords. And that's where it first came from, right? So you have the... Right? So the minor pen works over that. But because I'm using major chords, I could also use over this, or the 7th, the major pentatonic. And that's where you get two very different sounds. You get the majory, sweet sounds of your major pentatonic, and then you get the minor, bluesy type sounds from your minor pentatonic. So what I want you to try is mixing them together. When you have a progression like this, any 1-4-5 in major key, swing, shuffle, 7th chords, you know, tons of stuff out there like that. So much is all based off the 1-4-5 in most musical genres, except classical and a lot of jazz, really. And I want you to start mixing them up. Playing minor pentatonic for a while, and then playing major pentatonic for a while, and you will see how awesome it is. And I'm going to play over it a little bit. I'm going to put on a jam track, and you'll hear what I'm saying. And it really is going to add a lot, because you're shifting the mood from the sweet majory sounding to the bluesy minor sound. Now we're talking about playing over all the chords in the progression. I'm not talking about playing over each chord individually and changing the tonality over each chord. That's something you definitely want to do, but first learn run, then learn fly. Play over all the chords and then work on pulling them apart and then treating them as a separate event. And that's what I talk a lot about on our website at nextlevelguitar.com. We get into advanced lead techniques where you take a certain chord, for instance, like that shuffle I was playing in A. Over the A7th chord I might play a major pentatonic, a minor pentatonic, a mixolydian mode, a Dorian. But when I go over, then it shifts to the D7. I might just play over the D chord, treat that separately, and play D mixolydian or D minor pentatonic or D major pentatonic and play over each chord. That's what I call treating each chord like a separate event, and we'll get to that later. But for now, you want to play over all the chords. So you analyze the progression, figure out what will work, and if it's a 1-4-5, blues, swing, shuffle, you can use both minor pen and major pen. Okay? In fact, if you want to take that to the next level, what I do is I use the Dorian mode. The Dorian mode is the second mode in any major key, and what that does is, technically Dorian is a minor mode because it has strong minor elements, but it also has some major elements. The Dorian mode, if I do it in A, is all the notes in the minor pentatonic scale, but it adds two. It adds your major sixth, and in this case, in the key of A, it would add that F sharp note. But it also adds the second, or the ninth, the B note. So you get those two added notes in there, which give you a lot more color. But it has strong minor elements. That's why it's still considered a minor mode, because the Dorian is a root second, and I'm playing it here in the key of A. Then you have your flat third. Second is kind of from the major pentatonic or major. Flat third is minor. You have your fourth and fifth. And then you have your, there's your F sharp, your sixth, which is pulled from the major, and then your G, your flat seventh. So the Dorian steals from minor and major pentatonic. So what I do is, whenever I know I can use minor and major pentatonic, in my mind, the way my crazy mind works, I'm just thinking I'll just play Dorian over the whole neck too. And A Dorian is the same as G major, same thing. Play all your G major scales focused on the A. You're playing an A Dorian. So minor pen mixed with major pen, and looking at it, if you want to play your major scales as Dorian, man, you got the whole neck covered inside and out, and I'm going to do a little bit of that in a minute, okay? So let's jam over a jam track, and I could show you how this will sound.